This is real. 100% real. Someone wrote this, drew this, and had the nerve to ask people to pay for it. This is what cronyism looks like. This is what happens when you hire people based on their politics. This book happened because all the people involved in the book were the right color and had the right politics. It didn't have anything to do with the art or the story, just a complexion for the white guilt projection. Look at this work. Come on. This is what Kwanzaa Sejefo and the gang are bragging about on Twitter. Oh yeah, I'm not kidding. The whole creative team can't stop fingering each other's little egos, acting like it's the hottest shit ever. Everyone who worked on this book should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed to have put out something this bad, this objectively bad, and then had the nerve to ask people to cough up money for it. Other than me, who actually bought this thing? Who else spent $4 on this? Who? Find me this person, because I'm betting they're either blind, bought a sealed copy, or never planned to read it. I mean, come on y'all. You published the book looking like this. This is what you're on Twitter bragging about. This right here. For real. And you had the nerve to clown John Malin as a shitty artist. Honestly, in what world is this better than this? Show me the world where that fucking happens so I can grab my keyblade, drop you off, and seal your ass on it. This book is the reason why Comicsgate exists. It's shit like this that makes people dip out. How dare you? How dare you put something like this on the shelf and ask people to pay for it? And how dare you brag about this book when the cover looks nothing like the interior art? Chances are people who did buy it got it because of the cover. They thought they were getting this, and instead they got a dude with dookie fingers. Your customers deserve better than that. So let's get into this book because it's a total mess. I've already talked about the first 5 pages in my preview video, check out the link below. The short of it is that this girl named Indigo goes to a place looking for drugs, and a guy with powers has a bad trip and flips out. It's hard to tell what happened because the art is so bad, and it just gets worse as we go on. I mean, this is supposed to be New York City. One of the most photographed cities in the world, and this is the best you could do. We get this scene with Kareem, the blank slate, the so-called hero of the original Black series, and Ellen Waters, the super detective whose sole purpose in that story was to take pictures of the superpowered black people, which they're now calling empowered, because I guess all the cool names like third-rate X-Men knockoffs were taken. This banter between Kareem and Waters reads like someone watched too many 90s cop dramas and sitcoms. Kareem keeps shifting from wannabe hard-ass to 12-year-old with superpowers, and Waters has that I'm too good for this job, so good that even though I'm jaded, I won't quit attitude. Neither one is remotely believable, but together they're at least consistently bad. But not as bad as the cringe fest that happens next. Buckle in and grab a barf bag, cause you're gonna need it. We find out that they're watching this guy named Georgie Watts. He's a former student of a teacher named Mr. William who's gone missing. The teacher had powers and watched out for students who had powers. Watts dropped out, but his teacher would check in on him once a month. So, for some completely unexplained reason, these two are staking out Watts. Let's work through this logic, shall we? Mr. Williams goes missing. He checks on a lot of students. He's beloved in the community. So the person in the project, one of 3 of the clandestine groups of Homo Sub Negroes, sends these two to check on a guy Williams talks to once a month. Why? What connection does Watts have with Williams that makes him so important? Was he a star pupil? Does he have some weird power Williams made note of? Was Williams fucking Watts? Here's a better question. How do they even know how to find Williams or Watts? As far as we know, Williams wasn't involved in the project, and neither was Watts. So how did anyone know about them? Why are they specifically looking at Watts? I'll tell you why. To bitch about smart dropouts. I'm not kidding. When Waters says that Williams thought Watts was very smart but didn't apply himself, Kareem says that's what they always say when they don't know what to do with us. That doesn't make any sense. It makes sense if Watts was smart and showed it, but if Watts is going out of his way to hide his intelligence, choosing not to do the work, then how is that someone not knowing what to do with him? That's Watts choosing to ignore his skills and talent. This is really fake holiday grandstanding, running his miseducated mouth through Vita Ayala's pen. That explains this bit where Kareem says, "You think they'd learn. It's not that we ain't trying, it's that no matter what we do, it's never enough." Nigga, please. You just said Watts didn't apply himself. His missing black empowered teacher who's looking out for him said that. So this dude was lying? Is that what you're telling people? The guy we're supposed to think is a pillar of the community who actually cares about his students doesn't really give a shit. Or is this really code for how white people won't let niggas have nothing? They're holding us back. How? By making people like Watts not try? How does this make any sense when apparently nobody knew what to do with him? Now he is trying, but white folks think that's not good enough. You got some more excuses in your Kwanzaa bag? Cause that's all I'm hearing. Excuses from entitled black people who think things should just be handed over to them because they can add double digits. Most people aren't geniuses, so this bullshit idea that black kids are geniuses being held back by evil white people doesn't fly. I went to mostly black schools. I thought the only reason I did well was because I did the work. It wasn't until I went to a mostly white high school that I realized I was actually smarter than average. That's how common it was to see black kids not even try. So cut the bullshit. Oh, who am I kidding? The bullshit cranks up. These geniuses decide to ask Watts about Williams. Why? What reason do you have to knock on his door and make Blakashi try to unleash his Sharingan? Y'all then sat in the car and talked for a few minutes. How do you know he even knows anything? What evidence do you have? Ayala, Kwanzaa, have y'all ever watched a good cop drama? You've got to at least give Magnegro X or Detective Living Single a hunch. Some actual reason to look at this guy. They can't just be there. It doesn't make any sense. Where are your editors? Oh, wait. Black Mask. Never mind. So Watts panics and Kareem Abdul-Jabroni comes through the fucking window with the Jesus joke. And Watts freaks out and God in heaven. Dude, he's coming at him with the dookie fingers. Look at this shit. Literally, it looks like shit's coming from his hands. And Kareem is like, bro, my mouth was open. Then Kareem, I don't know, drops it like it's hot. I don't know what's going on. The art's that bad. But we get this and see, this is why it's so important to wear gloves when you're fisting. It's got sprinkles. It's like he went to Baskin and Robbins and was like, I'd like a prolapsed asshole with sprinkles on top. Then this bitch sidekicks the door like a fucking side scroller, just glides in like Johnny Cage. Like, how do you even kick the door from that angle? And why are your arms folded? Then Watts hits her with the shit show, and she doubles over instead of falling backwards because fuck physics. What in the hell is even happening on this page? Kareem gets hit, then poses. Is he supposed to be throwing a punch? How? Where? Then we see Waters holding her left shoulder even though she got hit in the chest. Then Indigo just shows up and it's over. Just like that. Now, it turns out that Indigo is the girl from the beginning of the story. So she's using this drug Vanta, I think. It's not really clear. Anyway, they go back to the main base where Juncture, the guy in the white who's never called by his name in this scene, has the doctor explain what Vanta does. And I'm just gonna read this cause, whoa. She says, for most people, the drug acts similarly to crack cocaine, euphoria, loss of time, intense emotions, sometimes temporary invulnerability. The advantage, so far as there is one, is that the transition from intoxicated to sober is smooth, almost like turning on a light switch. That literally means the opposite of what you think it means. Turning on a light switch isn't smooth. It's on and then it's off. That's why we say flipping the switch. It's one thing, then another, instantly. Maybe if you didn't hate white culture, you could learn how English idioms work. Then the doc says that Vanta causes people with powers to, quote, have what appears to be a PTSD-like break with reality. For fuck's sake, that's not how PTSD works. Get off Tumblr, while it's still around, and do some actual research before you write shit like this. You don't have a break with reality. You experience anxiety, heightened emotions, and sometimes flashbacks. Unless it's really severe, you know exactly where you are and what is and isn't real. That's actually what triggers the PTSD. So we find out that Vanta works so fast it disappears from the body before they can test it. This is why Indigo was sent to LA. We also find out that the drug makes people access the dimension Indigo uses to teleport. There's really no explanation for this in the story. It's just thrown out there like, this drug lets people with powers do this shit. It's fine if they don't know why it happens. It's not fine that no one, including the fucking doctor, bothers to speculate why it's happening. Is it because this is where people with powers actually draw their powers from? Are people with powers somehow synced together? Is the drug similar in any way to indigo? If this were an X-Men book, we'd have gotten this. If it was written by Bendis, it'd have been the whole fucking issue. Vita Ayala and Jiminy Christmas? Fuck it. Why have our characters, including our super scientists, throw out theories when we can just have them say shit like this? If they, whoever they are, it's white people, dumbass. You already met the evil white man named man in the original series. Is your memory that fucking short? Wanted to get us. Wouldn't they choose a way that would hit more people? I mean, the only ones getting hit are junkies and people who like to do stupid shit in clubs, right? Seems like a stupid way to do it. Then Juncture says, the world at your fingertips, and yet still so ignorant. Close your mouth and pry open your eyes, son. Oh, fuck me. The whole they're deliberately drugging our people shit? Really? Really? Okay, Hanukkah Schwartzman, let's work through this logic. The vast majority of people didn't know about folks with superpowers. This just became common knowledge not too long ago. So the dastardly evil white man plan is to create a new drug that has virtually no side effects except the ones it actually has, because neither you or Ayala proofread anything you fucking right, and put this in the black community where it will promptly do fuck all since the drug is effectively no different than existing drugs. The only people it could potentially hurt are people with superpowers, but since there are so few of them and most black people don't do drugs, the damage would be minimal. Unless you're saying black folks, especially those with powers, are just craving booger sugar. Black folks are straight up junkies, huh? Like they took yo mamas on crack rock as a challenge. Are y'all sure y'all black? I'm just asking because this reads like shit alt-right Nazis would write. So these idiots, the characters not the writers, need leads. And apparently the only guy anyone knows with one is a dude locked up in jail whose superpower is smoking weed. Which of course one of these jackasses would obviously have on them, and it gives him visions. How is that a superpower? That's just what weed does. Seriously, he's over here smoking for 20 fucking minutes before this shit kicks in. This nigga is just getting high. Why are you listening to him? This is the lamest power, the lamest joke. So fucking juvenile, and I bet all of y'all were just giggling over this. So they end up at this club called Redbone, and let me just say, there's a lot of dark-skinned people in this club. I mean, it's called Redbone. You'd think that if you were darker than like 87 Michael Jackson, you couldn't even get in. There's really no point to them going to this club. Nothing happens other than seeing this, whatever it is, sitting there. I guess he's a supplier for Vanta, or at least knows how to get it. That's all that comes of them going to the club in terms of moving the story. But this shit goes on for 4 pages and it's just bad. First we find out Indigo is turned off by straight dudes noticing hot women. Kareem says there's some fine women in the club and Indigo's like, gross. Really? I had her pegged as a lesbian. What kind of lesbian finds women gross? Or is it because Kareem likes them that she's turned off? Then the bouncer flirts with her and he's like, you don't look 21. And she says, what can I say? Black don't crack, right? Look at Sade. And he's like, damn girl, clearly. Nobody talks like this. Nobody. Not a soul. And why would you pick Sade when Angela Bassett has been all over TV and film lately? So the bouncer comes back with, what are you, Dominican? And she's like, no, black and white. Dominicans are black and white, dumbass. This is so embarrassing. I think I'm actually getting less black as I read this thing. Literally, the melanin is going out of my skin out of shame. Like, it's like, I don't want to be associated with them. Fucking hell. Oh, but it gets worse. Super Detective Waters decides to just waltz up to the bar and ask, hey girl, you know where I can get in on some fun too? And the woman is like, you a cop? Yeah. But Waters goes, I look like a cop? Yeah. But no, this shit actually works. Waters says some shit about liking handcuffs and Queen Latifah just tells her where to score to Vanta. When has this ever worked? Ever. Not even in shitty cop shows does this work. But in this retarded world of black as fuck, fat asses just tell obvious cops where to get drugs. And then flirt with them because of course she's a lesbian. And what lesbian story would be complete without some guy coming along and flirting with women and the women being like, nasty, why are they like that? Only enough blood to run one head at a time, I imagine. If you're wondering, yes, Vida Ayala is a lesbian. And yes, everything she writes has some anti-male lesbians in it. So then we see whatever the hell this thing is supposed to be, and the end. Holy fuck, this book is bad. The art alone is reason enough to avoid the book. It's just inexcusable to publish something this poorly drawn, and trust me, it looks worse in print. Why would you publish this? If Liana Kangas wanted to draw a comic, y'all should have waited for her to get better, or just let her do the layouts and have someone who knew what they were doing draw the finished art. That way she'd get the art cred without having her worst work on display. But the writing is much worse. You've got two people writing this book, Fake Holiday and Ayana Van Kant, and neither one of them can make it work. The plot is a meandering series of scenes. There's clearly stuff that's happened off panel or in a different comic that the reader should know for the scene to make sense that just isn't there. For example, nothing in the secret world is explained. You're never told who these people are, how they're connected, why they're teamed up with these particular people. The last time I saw Ellen Waters, she was being mind-controlled into filming the final battle between Black nationalists and Black Lives Matter. Now she's working with the low-rent Black Lives Matter. Kind of. Why? If there was at least a caption box telling people where to go to find out what's going on, see issue 3 of this shitty series, that would help. But no, the reader is just expected to follow along with virtually no information. And just like before, we get nothing about the characters in the story. We have no connection to them, no sense of their goals, no understanding of who they are. It's just scene after scene after scene of shitty dialogue and retarded racial grandstanding. I've read stuff by Kwanzaa and Ayala, and to be honest, it's hard to tell who wrote what because they both have the same flaws. They don't get character development, they don't get pacing, they don't get plot building, they don't get thematic motivation. Putting them together is like watching two people who've never played an instrument try to make music. They think they're awesome, but even deaf people can tell they suck. The worst part though is that they're surrounded by sycophants who constantly tell them it's the greatest thing ever. Neither Ayala or Kwanzaa have received criticism outside of YouTube reviewers. Everyone else gives them nothing but praise, and at this point, it's like the industry has set the bar so low for black creators that simply being able to finish the comic is seen as an achievement. Look at you. You made a comic. Is that your comic? You such a good writer, writing all them words. You draw that picture? Can you draw another generic wannabe man? Come on, let me see you knock off Batman. This is the kind of thing you do when a toddler manages to pee in the potty, not when a bunch of adults hand in this embarrassment. Y'all really should be embarrassed this book got published. And no, Kwanzaa, all the false flagging isn't going to change that your writing sucks, your characters are generic, and your ideas are racist. The only thing these comics are good for is showing how not to write comic books featuring black characters. Get better, Kwanzaa, if you can, and maybe you can retcon this into something that doesn't read like Tales from the Hood, The Coons Strike Back. And yeah, I'm going to review the rest of these books just so people can see what ridiculous cronyism passes for diversity and inclusion in the comic book industry. It's shit. They know it's shit, you know it's shit, but y'all acting like it's Granny's peach tea. You know the best part of this kind of rant, Kwanzaa? When your SJW handlers ask who's roasting your shitty writing, all you can say is, just some guy. Genius.